Welcome back for another Kickstarter preview video, and this time I'm very happy and pleased to present to you World Stitchers. World Stitchers is an easy to get and very easy to set up tile laying game which has extremely simple rules, yet is highly satisfying and offers tremendous value for money, in my opinion at least, because besides a core game it also adds different modules and also increased levels of complexity for the solo automa mode as well. So what the game is about? The game is about some natural spirits that they are plucking pieces of floating land all around them, trying to put them together and thread them with a mystical and magical thread in order to create different lands and areas. So the game has very simple rules. During your action as a player, you simply have to do your action phase and then you do your movement phase. During your action phase, you either pick up one tile more from the offering, so you have more options in front of you and you increase your stamina, thus your movement possibilities for the next phase, or you try to construct one of the shrines, which are actually cards with awarding a lot of victory points, and the first to go there is going to get more victory points by spending 8 energy tokens. You're going to understand how you collect energy tokens from the land around you. Or the third option is to simply expand the world by taking a piece from the offering, from the sky as they call it, and attaching it next to one of the locations, expanding thus the area. Then you move to your movement phase. Your movement phase is very simple. You move your token, your spirit, your natural spirit on the board by going into different locations, terrain types, either it's grass or a mountain or a lake or water, whatever, or forest. But in order to move to a location, you have to flip one of your tiles that have that type of location on them. This is a very clever and simple way because it gives a lot of opportunities and flexibility. If you increase your stamina and if you have more tiles like that in front of you, you just flip them for this turn and then you're going to unflip them for the next turn. You're going to have them again available. And you want to move your token around the map because you want to collect those glass beads, which are essentially the energy tokens that award 1 victory point as well at the end of the game, together with any spires you have constructed. The game has extremely fast flow. It's very simple on its core, but yet highly satisfying. But in addition on that, it has a lot of added value because, as I mentioned, you have a lot of different modules that you can play. You can play with the goals, with objectives, with special powers. You can also play an area control module where you're trying to control areas around you. So these are mini rules, if you want to describe them like that, that they expand the core game by a bit, and you can mix and match even all of the modules together. Very, very fun, very satisfying, and also offers a solo mode as well. Join me at the table. I'll show you how the game works. Please visit the description on this video because you're going to find a link to the Kickstarter preview page where you can register to get notified when the game starts, and also you can follow up from this link the campaign once it's launched. It's a really clever and very satisfying tile laying game. I think it's a must for all of those among the gamers. I consider myself one of those who enjoy tile laying game with a twist, but a simple yet satisfying gameplay. So join me at the table. I'll show you exactly how everything plays and everything works in World Stitchers, and I'll come back at the end of this video for a final wrap up from my first opinion and impressions from playing the game so far. The young spirits of nature are building a new world together by plucking floating pieces of land from the sky and waving them together. With each addition, energy flows through the landscape, and the spirits gather this energy and use it to construct massive spires to show off their skill. It's a friendly competition, and the winner gets to name their newly created world. Welcome to World Stitchers, a brand new tile laying game which is hitting Kickstarter soon, which has a lot of value and a lot of different modules and a very easy rule set to go along with it. So let's familiarize ourselves first with the components of the game. First of all, we have 60 land tiles, are these that you see here in front of you, and these are shaped with this particular shape. They have always 2 types of terrains on them, and the quality, even this is a prototype, this is amazing already. So looking forward to see this funded and produced. So these are the 60 tiles. You have 4 meeples. They're wooden with prints on both sides, and they depict the 4 nature spirits that the players are assuming the roles. Very nice and different in shape, color and art as well. The cover, by the way, of the art on the cover is amazing. And this is the last one. You have one first player token, and yes, it's exactly what you see, as it makes sense. You have 11 spire cards. These spire cards are these here, which depict different number of victory points, starting from the highest that those spirits try to construct and accumulate victory points in order to win the game, together with the energy that they're going to have a surplus. Speaking of energy, here are some energy tokens. These are glass beads. These are really nice, looking really good, and they are also flat on one side, and this is important because you lay them still as you flow energy across your tile placement, somehow like that. You have also denominations of 5. When you have too much, you get denominations of 5. You have 16 spire tokens, which you can find here. They are depicting the different colors and the different arts from the different 4 spirits as you see them here. You also have one butterfly token, and then you have various cards which are not used in the core game, but they're used with the module expansion. Speaking of module, this game comes with lots of modules, so there are 4 modules, and these are the 4 different summary rules and setup rules for each of the modules. You have the power module with this specific deck that you find it here. Then you have the objective module with this specific deck that you find it here. And then you have the goal module, which has this specific deck, and you find it here. There is also one module which doesn't have any deck associated to it, which is the area control module. These are 4, but also the game offers a solo mode. So lots and lots of value on this tile-laying game from Broken Mill. Okay, so let's move to setup. Randomly we decide who will be the first player, and we give them the first player token, which is this nice first player token. Then each player takes a meeple of their choice, representing their nature spirit. So let's set up a 4-player game. Each player takes their own spirit token, and let's assume this is the first player. Then you shuffle all the land tiles, and you create face down stack. And then you give 3 random land tiles to each of the players face down in front of them. These are the players' starting hands. And you place the rest of the tiles face down to create a reserve, as seen here at the top. Then you take 3 random tiles from the reserve and place them face up to the side, and this is the sky, this is the offering. So let's put these are the automa cards, these are the spire cards, and let's create a display for the sky. So we have those 3 cards, or those 3 tiles I should say, which is the offering. This is the sky. Then you place the energy tokens to the side to form a general supply. We have quite a few here. And last but not least, we take the 11 spire cards and we place them to the side, face up, making sure that the highest value is always on top from victory points. So these are the victory points. So we have first the 12s, then 10, and then 9. This will be set to the side, and from which players will be picking the top one as they are constructing spires along the way. You're now ready to start and set up the board. Let's proceed to the setup of the board. Setting up the board. Starting with the first player and proceeding in a clockwise manner, each player takes their following steps. First, they look at their 3 tiles that they have in their hand, the ones that have been dealt. And they look at these tiles and they choose 2 to keep. So let's choose those. And you take them and you place them face up in front of you. So these are the stamina of each player, and these are placed face up, so these are visible both to you and to the other players. You place the 3rd tile face up in the middle of the table. And then you place your meeple on one of the 2 spaces of the tile you just placed. This is a land tile, and this is part of the ward, the common ward that the spirits are creating, and you will be starting from one of those spaces, your movement. So the same happens with the 2nd, the 3rd and the 4th player accordingly. So keep in mind that if you are not the first player while you're doing this step, your tile must connect to at least one of the other tiles in the world. We'll explain the placement rules further down in this video, but for the moment you see that you connect them in a manner like this, and even though you want to match at least one side, if not both, in order to expand the same region as much as possible, you are allowed to connect to different types of terrain, as long as you follow the tile placement rules, which I'm going to explain later on. For the moment, this is a common world that we have created. And now we are ready to start playing. Let's see a quick overview. Players will take actions to expand the world, increase their stamina, or build spires. They can also move their meeples around the world to pick up energy that spreads when new land tiles are added to the world. The game ends when one player has built 3 spires or collected 40 energy. Let's see how the turns play. Starting with the first player and proceeding in a clockwise order, each player will take turns until the game ends. A turn consists of 2 phases. We have first the action phase, then followed by the second, the movement phase. So a couple of words for each of the phases respectively. The action phase. During your action phase, you may take one of the following actions. You can either increase your stamina, spending 2 energy to take a tile from the sky and add it to your stamina. You can either build a spire, spend 8 energy to take a spire card, or a third option is to expand the world, take a tile from the sky and add it to the world. Each action will be described in detail following just right now. Okay, let's see the first action option that we have. We can increase our stamina. Taking this action costs 2 energy. So you take simply 2 of your own energy, so this is your personal pool of energy tokens. You need to take 2 energy tokens and return them to the general supply. Then, if you done that, then you can increase your stamina. You choose one of the 3 tiles, which are the ones that are offered from the sky. Select one of those 3, and then you add it to your stamina. Your stamina is your pool of face-up open tiles in front of you. So let's say I wanted to add this one. You're going to understand later on how I select which tiles I add to my stamina. And then I will have more abilities and options during the next phase, which is the movement phase. Keep in mind that if you have less than 2 energy tokens, you cannot take this action at all. We'll explain how movement works later on because it's the second phase. But for the moment, one of the options you have as an action is to increase your stamina by paying 2 energy, selecting 1 tile from the sky and adding it to your personal face-up stamina display, which dictates your flexibility for movement purposes. Another option we discussed about taking an action during the action phase is to build a spire. Taking this action costs 8 energy. Simply you take 8 of your own energy tokens and return them to the general supply. If you have less than 8 energy tokens, you cannot take this action. So let's say I want to take the build a spire action. I need to have 8 energy tokens. I take them, return them to the supply, and then I'm able to build a spire. You take 1 spire card with the highest available number from the general supply and place it in front of you. Of course, you're going to take the one which is on top, and it is the one with the highest amount of victory points. So you take this spire card and place it next to you. So now you indicate that you have already built one of the spire cards. Keep in mind that building spire cards is not only giving you victory points for the end of the game, but it's one of the ways that will trigger the end of the game, because if one player has built 3 spire cards in front of them or collected 40 energy tokens, they trigger the end of the game and we proceed to tallying our victory points. So this is the second option. Keep in mind again that spire cards have a value of worth spanning from 12, going to 10, and then going to 9 victory points. These will be awarded to you at the end of the game, but there are also 2 spire cards worth of 12 points only, so it can be advantageous to try to build one quickly. And when a player builds the 3rd spire, as I mentioned before, the game will end. The third option for an action a player can take is to expand the world. You choose one of the 3 land tiles from the sky. So for the purpose of this example, let's say I had these 3 options. Then once you have selected one of the 3 offered land tiles from the sky, you take it and you connect it to the world, the other land tiles in the middle of the table where you're building your world, using the placement rules that I'm going to describe in detail further down the road on this video. And after connecting the tile, you add energy to the world. So let's say for the benefit of this example, I'm going to pick up this tile, connect it here, and then I'm going to start adding energy to the world. First, you place one energy token from the general supply on each of the two spaces of the land tile you just placed. So I need to place one here and one here. Then, after that, I place one energy token from the general supply again on each other space that forms a continuous landscape of the same type, originating from my starting tile that I just placed during my turn with this added tile. So each space can only ever have one energy token. If there is a meeple on the space that would get an energy token, that player immediately collects that energy token. So let me show you the example. I just played this one, I add one, and then I start expanding as long as I have continuous terrain. So this one would expand here. Normally you would add one here, but since it has already one energy token, you will not add a second one. You can only have one energy token on each of those, but then you continue down the road until you fill all the terrains of the same type. If you had one token of an enemy spirit on one of those locations, when you would be adding the energy token, instead of adding it on the tile, that player would pick it up. So it's to your benefit that you do it in a way that you're also placing something and you're collecting the bits, because instead of placing it on the tile, if you have your own token, you will pick it up yourself. If there are your opponent tokens, they will pick it up themselves, so you also need to be careful. Now, tile placement rules. When you connect a tile to the world, you may rotate it in a manner so that it fits with the below rules. You may rotate the new tile in any way, and you may connect it to any part of the world. And each tile has 5 edges, one of each of the 3 short sides and 2 on the long side. So for example, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edges as you see. 3 on the short side and 2 on the long side. When placing the tile, at least one of its 5 edges must line up completely with the edges of an existing tile in the world. You cannot overlap tiles, and you do not have to match terrain types with existing tiles, but it does help with the spread of energy, so it is to your benefit. It's possible that little triangular shaped holes occur during the world build due to tile placement. These are inaccessible spaces. So let me show you some examples of correct and incorrect placement rules so you understand how you can place tiles moving forward. So let's focus on those 2 tiles and let's see some examples of valid tile placement. So let's say we have this like that. One valid tile placement could be this one. So even though I'm not matching the terrain, I'm matching one edge with another edge. So this is a valid placement. Another one could be this one. Another one could be this one. All these are valid, the ones that I'm showing you now. Or another one could be even that one. This is still valid placement. Again, it doesn't matter that they're not matching the terrain types. Or you can have something like that. This is also a valid placement. This is also a valid placement. All these are valid placements. Now let's see an invalid placement. If, for example, you would do that, this is not a valid placement. And the reason is because it's not matching fully one side, one edge by edge. Or if you were to do something like that, by not touching anything, just touching a corner, this is also not valid. So there you have it. Now you have a good understanding on how you can do tile placement in World Stitchers. Now the second phase in a player's turn is the movement phase. After taking your action, your movement phase starts. You may move your meeple around the world from space to space, however your movement is limited by your stamina. Remember, your stamina are the face-up tiles that you have in front of you, and you can always increase your stamina. Whenever you wish to move to a new space, choose one of your stamina tiles that has the same terrain type as the space you are moving to. Flip that tile over to show that you have used the tile for this turn. You may no longer use the tile for movement purposes for this turn. You may move as many spaces as you have stamina tiles, as long as you can match the spaces you're moving to. If you move into a space with an energy token on it, you collect that energy token. So this is a main drive of moving, trying to collect stamina tokens by moving, flipping the respective stamina tiles, matching your destination where you move to, and picking up energy tokens. If you move into a space with an energy token, you simply pick it up. If you want to move into a space with another meeple, you must give that player one energy token from your own supply. If you do not have any energy tokens, you may do so for free. You cannot though end your turn on the same space as another player's meeple. So let's see an example of movement with this guy over here. So we have 3 stamina, these specific 3 tiles. The terrain types match because these are the ones that are allowing us where to move to. So we have 2 options here, for example. Let's say I flip this one, so I move to a gray. So I want to move here, so I flip this one, and then I move here. Then I want to move there, so I flip this one, and I move there. And last, I want to move here, so I flip this one, and I move there. If there were stamina energy tokens along the way, I would collect them to my personal supply. Another option with the same selection of stamina tiles is to do the following. So I simply use this one. I use it for the grass, so I move here. Then I move to grass again by flipping this one, and for the last one I want to move on water here, so I'm flipping this one. So there you have it. These are the options you have during movement. So the end of your turn. 2 things happen at the end of your turn. First, you flip all your stamina tiles back, so you have used some of your stamina tiles in order to move. Then you flip them back so that they are refreshed and available for you for your next turn. Then you fill the sky. If there are less than 3 tiles in the sky, you pick up 1 tile from the stack and add, so that you always have 3 there as a display. You take 1 randomly from the reserve and add it to the sky. The end of the game. There are 3 things that can trigger the end of the game. First, a player builds 3 spires, 3 of those cards in front of them. Second, a player has 40 or more energy tokens out of these, collected in their personal supply. Or there are no land tiles left in the reserve, because it's depleted. After the end has been triggered, you finish the round so that each player has taken the same number of turns, the player to the left of the first player that has their turn, and then you proceed to scoring. Your spires are worth 12, 10 or 9 points as depicted at the bottom of the card respectively. And also each energy token collected in front of you is worth 1 point as well. The player with the most points is the winner and gets to name the new world. In case of a tie, those players share the victory. There are also modules for this game that add more variety and more flavor and more ways to play this nice tile-laying game. So this game comes with several different modules that you can use to add new elements to the game. Every module can be combined with others, so you can use as many or as few as you want. How do you use them? At the start of the game, you choose which modules you wish to use. You take the module rule cards, which are these over here. You do the specific setup, gameplay and end of the game that is explained on the additional card as a special rule. And then you can also do randomly pickup of modules by shuffling the modules and blindly selecting 1 or 2 or more. There is also a solo mode that has additional rules, but let me show you first of all the modules themselves. So for the area control module, you follow this setup. You give each player the spire tokens that match your animal spirit. So you use these that we have said, described at the beginning of this video. Then for gameplay, when a player builds a spire, they also place a spire token on their current tile. Players cannot enter the tile with a spire token that belongs to another player. And when energy is placed on the tile with a spire token, that energy is immediately picked up by the corresponding player. There are no more additional changes for endgame. Really cool module. Then you have the goal module. For setup, you randomly give each player 2 goal cards. These are the goal cards. Players choose 1 card to keep and discard the other face down, and players keep their chosen goal hidden from other players. There are no gameplay changes, and at the end of the game, each player reveals their goal card and scores extra points based on their goal. So for example, you can have 1 point for each plain space in your stamina, 1 point for each forest space in your stamina, or 2 points for each set of 2 tiles in your stamina with all 4 terrain types. And you get the idea. Lots of different things to pursue. Another module is the objective module. For the setup, you shuffle the objective cards and place them face down on the objective deck location near the board. Then you take the top 3 cards and place them face up next to the objective deck, and these are the available objectives. This is the deck of the objectives. You have this icon over here. So for gameplay purposes, during their turn, if a player meets the requirements of one of the more of the objectives, the player may claim those objectives, and if there are less than 3 available objectives on the display, at the end of the player's turn, they open one so that there are always 3 face up. At the end of the game, you resolve any available end of game objectives and score points for claimed objectives, so players can also get more victory points from there. So for example, add 9 energy to the ward in a single turn. If you do it and this is face up, you're going to pick it up immediately and it's going to give you 2 victory points at the end of the game. Or end of the game, a player with the most energy, then they will pick up 2 additional victory points. So there you have it. This is a really cool module as well. And the last is the power module, which uses respectively this deck. So randomly you give each player 2 power cards, and players choose one card to keep and discard the other card, and players keep their chosen power card face up in front of them. During gameplay, each power card is unique and gives that player special ability. Most powers can be used in every turn, and there are no end game changes. So for example, you start the game with 4 energy, cool. Or you can, at the start of your turn, you may immediately teleport to a plane space. How cool are these? So you have also abilities, and of course you can combine all these modules together. This is really, really nice. A word about modules and difficulty. You can use modules also in solo play with the Automa cards, which is this deck over here. And you can also adjust the difficulty regardless of solo or any other module. You can increase the difficulty for the Automa player. For the solo, you can increase the difficulty. If you give the Automa player more starting energy, so for normal 0 energy, for hard 2 energy, for very hard 4 energy, and for extreme 6 energy to start the game with. So for the solo mode is really, really easy to understand, so I'm just going to quickly cover it. This game can be played completely by yourself using an automated opponent, the Automa, with this deck. When you set up the ward after you complete your own part, setting up the ward, you choose a meeple for the Automa player and take 1 random tile from the reserve. You connect that tile to the ward and you place the Automa meeple on one of the 2 spaces. You take the 10 Automa cards, which is this deck, shuffle them and create a face down Automa deck. Now you're the starting player. At the start of your turn, and each of your turns, you reveal the top card from the Automa deck, but you don't activate the card yet, you just see it. At the end of your turn, you reveal the second card from the Automa deck, and then you activate both cards in order. Starting with the card revealed at the start of your turn and activating actions from top to bottom, and you do the same for the second card and then discard both cards. If there are no more cards, you just reshuffle and make a new deck. Of course, there are some options that are only used if you're using a specific module. So for example, this would only apply if I was using this module. Otherwise, I will start and do all this and all that for this turn for the Automa. So this is really cool because it emulates an AI, an actual player playing the game with you, and gives you the opportunity to play it as a solo as well, with also added levels of difficulty. So there you have it. This is all you need to know about World Stitchers. I've covered the core game, all the modules and the solo play, and then you have all the information needed for you on how to know what to do on the game. Well done, Broken Mill. Broken Mill is the company, the publisher, that is going to crowdfunding to get funding in order to get this game published. I haven't played the game from them before, and I'm really surprised by 2 factors: the simplicity, yet the satisfaction level of the gameplay. This is really, really difficult to nail on both areas, because usually in order to get a more interesting, more satisfying game, you have to put input into your design, more difficult rules, additional options, lots of layers of rules and options, etc. So those type of games tend to have a bit more. This game, I can throw it on the table whenever, as a gateway game, whenever a newcomer comes into the hobby, or whenever I want to play a quick, fast tile lane game, even with an experienced gamer or a family member, that will give a competition between 2 players on who gets the most victory points. So it's not, it doesn't have any take that or any, I would say, harsh interaction between the players. It's very peaceful. People expand the common world. They're trying to collect as many energy tokens as possible in order to spend them to construct shrines, and the level of strategy and planning that goes into the gameplay is really excellent, because from the stamina, the tiles you have in front of you, you can select where you can move, and you have either limited or advanced options if you have a lot of stamina. The way you connect the tiles is really important, because when you place a tile, as you have seen, you put 2 energy tokens on both areas, because each tile, as you have seen, has 2 terrain types, and then from there any connected same type of terrain is getting filled with energy tokens. So this creates a lot of dynamic. It's difficult to explain, because for such a simple game I wouldn't expect it to be so involving, so interesting, so you know, you're continuously observing the landscape and the world that you and the opponents are creating, and you're trying to get the best out of your next movement, etc. There is a high level of satisfaction aesthetically, as you see the world increasing, as you see those little spirit tokens moving around and collecting beads and energy tokens, and essentially I think by the end of the play time, you had a really good time. So very much impressed about the game. I'm highly recommending it, especially with the modules. I mean, you can play it even with a core game, but the modules add so much more depth and replayability in the game, because you have lots of different things to go after, whether it's the area control module, where there are special abilities for you and the other players, or goals to try to achieve, or end-game scoring and stuff like that, that really spice up the game a lot. So 2 thumbs up from me. I didn't know the company at all, I didn't know the game at all, and I'm really surprised about from the level of nice, clever, slick and to the point design, I would say, on this game, because it's not again easy to produce, develop and design one step ahead. A game that it's simple but very interesting. Easy to get on the table, but extremely satisfying, and I think this game covers all these aspects in a tremendous level, and 2 thumbs up from me. So thanks for watching. Follow the link at the description of this video for information on how to get notified on Kickstarter launch of this game, and stay tuned for more videos from our channel.